What's up, guys? So this video is going to be a little different from all the other videos that I've uploaded on this YouTube channel. And the reason I'm saying this is because all what I'm about to say is based on true events that happened to me when I was younger, around the age of 7 and 8. I remember everything very vividly because it's something I'll never forget. And it kind of changed the outlook of my life and the way I see things now. Because it's true what they say, that you have to go through something to kind of believe it. And experiencing what I experienced a few years ago in the house that I used to live in was very traumatic in a sense. I wasn't afraid of what was going on, but more intrigued by it. And there's so much that kind of goes into this whole story because it kind of led to my life. A few years ago, something I actually did. I went to this place called the Conjuring Museum. And what that is, it's Ed and Lorraine Warren. These two people are demonologists, the best in the world. They've been to Amityville Horror in London to get all these cases, to figure out what was going on. And this is all about a haunting, And I'm going to talk to you guys about my haunting and what I went through as a kid. I'm not making anything up. Everything what I'm about to say is true. Because like I said, it's nothing I'll ever forget. Till this day I get kind of freaked out talking about it, but I feel like it's going to be a cool thing to talk about to you guys so you guys can see it from a different perspective. So yeah, let's get started to where it all began. So it started a few years ago in a house I used to live in Port Chester, New York. That's a few hours from where I live right now. Not a few hours, I'm sorry. I live in Stamford, Connecticut, and it was in Port Chester. So what happened was we used to live on the third floor of an apartment building. Imagine a building, a complex. There's first floor, second floor, and third floor. We lived on the third floor, and this apartment building has two sides of it. Like, people can live on this side and this side. So basically 6 tenants living in the building. I remember everything started off very small, nothing so serious. It was just like little things, maybe like you would feel like the rooms get cold. And, someone might say, oh, like it's just the cold weather outside. But it was very consistent in certain parts of the houses. In certain parts of the apartment building, it was very consistent. I also remember feeling as if something was watching me as a kid. I was like 6 to 8 years old. I felt like something was always watching me, and my brother did too. We both lived in the same apartment building with my mom. So some of the things that would happen, we would hear knocks on the wall. Yeah, you could say that's the neighbors, but the side of the wall that we would hear it on, no one was there. And then little things like my toys would go missing at night. I would have like these little like action figures I would have, and I couldn't find them the next morning. They would just disappear without us. I remember trying to look over the house for the toys, couldn't find them, and I thought I might have lost them. All right, but one thing, it started getting a little bit more serious as like time went by in that house. One of the things that happened was I had like a little bunny, like a little doll that I used to sleep with, like a little rabbit. I remember that one night. Imagine a bed. I put it next to my side right here, and I was on the bottom of a bunk bed. Me and my brother had a bunk bed. What happened was I'd sleep this side, I put it next to my side, turn around, it would end up under the floor again, like on the floor. I remember looking down, picking it up, putting it to my side, and I'm like, all right, I'm making sure it's not gonna fall. I turn around, it's under my bed again. And that was like the 4th or 5th time it happened, the same time. I remember looking at the bottom of my bed. It was like in the middle, like as if someone intentionally grabbed it and put it under my bed. And as a kid, you're like, all right, I didn't knock it down because I'm making sure that I tucked it in my leg and that it wouldn't fall. So every time I knew something was trying to play tricks with me, that's why I'm trying to test it out as a kid. I'm like, all right, something's up. I wasn't scared, more intrigued. I was kind of like, all right, it's weird. I don't know how to take this as a kid. And this is when things got a little bit more serious. It started getting, small to big. I remember one night, me and my brother would be sleeping, and I'd be like, hey, Dave, do you feel the bed shaking? And he'd be like, no, I don't. So you can physically see that the bed was shaking. I remember seeing the bed moving on top. And asking him, yo, do you feel the bed moving? He's like, no, I don't. And other nights he would be like, are you moving the bed? And I'd be like, I'm not. And I would feel like he would feel the bed shaking, I wouldn't. So it's like, how does that happen in a bunk bed? You usually feel both sides of the bed moving. So that was one of the things that happened. And I remember like me and him would be so scared to the point that I would sleep in his bed. Like, I would go down like in the bunk bed and be like, yo bro, can I sleep next to you? Cause I was kind of getting, freaked out because I always felt like something was in that room just staring at me, and our bed would shake. And then it got a little bit more serious. We started hearing scratches on the wall. I remember one night I was sleeping facing the wall, and all I heard was like exactly that sound, but on the wall. So it was like just like that. I don't know if you will be able to hear that. And I heard it like right in front of my face. I did not want to open my eyes. The next morning I opened my eyes, there's 3 claw marks on the wall. Vivid claw marks, like the paint was scratched off. I kind of like looked at that and I'm like freaked out, you know. I don't remember exactly what I did after that, but that was one of the things that went on in that house. As well as I remember there was nights where we were crying because we felt like we weren't comfortable sleeping in that room. And then I will never forget this actually. One night we came home, me, my mom, my brother, from the mall. We went to the mall in White Plains, a few hours down. I remember going to the house and going into my bedroom, and guys, I shit you not, but there was flies literally in every corner of the room. My mom, I remember her perfectly, like getting a napkin, killing every fly. It was like in every corner of the room, like, I don't know if you guys can see it. It was like that in every corner of the room, flies everywhere on top of the ceiling. And that right there, like I did a lot of research now, and it's the sign of a demonic presence, as if something's like. And you could smell like rotting flesh in that house. So like at night, you could smell rotting flesh, and then the fact that there was flies around is a demonic presence. If you do like the research on like flies in the house, the rotting smell of flesh, we thought there was a dead animal in the house, but the smell would come and go, you know. So that's very odd. All right, so that was like some of the stuff that happened there, and it got a bit more serious. So I remember one night. This is something that like I will never forget, guys. I used to go to boarding school, so on Friday it was always half a day. I got home one day. My grandpa would take care of me. I was like around 8 years old, 8 to 9, and I know how to take care of myself. I'll go to the house, just sit there and wait for my mom to come home. So what happened that day is my grandpa couldn't take care of me, so I had to go upstairs by myself. I remember sitting in the living room, and on the 3rd floor of my apartment building, there's like a kitchen, and in the kitchen there's a patio, and in that patio there's like a little door, aluminum foil door, and an actual door. So what happened was I sat down in my living room. As soon as I sit down, I hear something in the kitchen, like on the door, as if someone's trying to open the door. So I get up, go into the kitchen, look out the window because there's a little window by the door. I see nothing. The gate is closed to the like other side of the apartment. And I'm like, all right, it must have been a squirrel, you know, kind of thinking a logical explanation to it. So I go back into the living room, sit down, I hear it again, something in the kitchen. And I get back up, I run to the kitchen to see if like, all right, someone has to be doing that. I look out the window, nothing is there. The gate is closed, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, what's going on? It has to be a squirrel, you know. It has to be like something, an animal, like scratching the wall or something. I go back into the living room, I hear it again. So I go in the kitchen, I look out the window, I stay there for like 3 to 5 minutes to make sure, like, all right, something is messing with me. It has to be someone messing with me. And I remember calling my mom, saying, Mom, I think someone's trying to break into the house. And she says, all right, it's probably your imagination. Go into your bedroom, go into my bedroom and lock the door. I'll be home soon. So I listen to her, hang up the phone. I go into her room. And guys, like literally as soon as I hang up the phone, it sounded like someone ripped the door off the wall. Like a bang, you know, like literally like. And I remember the feeling I had. It was just like shock. I didn't know what to do. I felt like just stuck. I remember I literally dropped the phone. I opened my mom's door and I ran. I didn't even look in the kitchen. I just ran out of my house, locked myself out, went to the neighbors next door, and was like, I think someone just broke into my house. And they gave me an orange juice, and I remember they were like, calm down, you know, because I was like freaking out. We went behind the house with a flashlight, looked at every single patio. No one was there. The gate was closed. Scariest thing that happened, guys. The door literally sounded like someone ripped it out the wall. And nothing's ever gonna convince me that's normal. That was like scientific. There's nothing that can convince me that was normal. There's something in that house. I'm convinced. My brother, me and him experienced a bed shaking, scratches on the wall, things disappearing, knocks, and everything like that. Everything you can imagine, we saw, like rotting flesh, just the flies. Nothing will ever explain that. You know, if you do research, you'll know something was in the house, a poltergeist, whatever it is, a demon. And things get a little bit more interesting. So we'll get into that right now. So a few years later, me and my friends, it's Halloween, we're looking for things to do, and there's this thing called the Occult Museum. And if you guys saw the movie The Conjuring, the Annabelle doll, you'll notice that this is all real. You know, there's cases of like these people that, you know, have been there and like experienced like this demonic presence with the doll. And we went to the museum, which had all this stuff in it. And what's interesting about that, the reason I wanted to do is because I wanted to speak to Lorraine Warren, and Lorraine Warren is a renowned demonologist that has done research on all this stuff. So I wanted to speak to her and tell her about my experience as a kid, to see what you had to say about it. So we go to the house, we buy tickets. It starts off like in her living room, and I'll put pictures of all this guys at the end of the video so you guys can see what the museum looked like and the pictures that we took in the museum. So I spoke to her, we sat in the living room, she told us her story, who she is, and what her husband did as work. So after that, we go into, we brace ourselves, we say a prayer to go into the basement because it's the most demonic place in the world. If you guys believe in demons, ghosts and all this stuff, like as you've been using rituals, satanic rituals. So we go downstairs to the basement. She lives in the museum, which is interesting, she lives on top. She's the only one who will keep this stuff from actually hurting people. There's a priest in the house, we go downstairs to the basement. We see the Annabelle doll, we see the Conjuring, and everything that was in the movie we see in the museum. Me, I wanted to provoke something, because I don't get really scared of this stuff, guys. I play the Ouija board and all that. I wanted to provoke something, I wanted to see something happen, so I'm going down there for purpose, which is a bad idea. So I'll tell you why in a bit. And so what happened after that, well, in the basement, I remember I posed next to Annabelle, I flexed, and that, is kind of disrespecting the doll itself, and just like I should have never done it. I was flexing in front of it, doing poses. I'll put all these pictures up here right now. And then after that, I remember there's this thing called a satanic, it's like a little stick, and it was found in the woods of Sandy Hook, by a hunter who went near it, and he felt dizzy, and he almost felt like he wanted to kill himself with the gun because he heard voices coming from the stick, a satanic, I don't know what to call it, but you're gonna see a picture of that soon. So I went up to it, and I remember looking at it in the face and just putting my arm around it. It's like a little thing, and I'm crazy for doing that. As soon as I did that, the priest in the room was like, I'm conjuring something. I want something bad to happen, and something bad is going to happen to me. He said, he kicked me out of the museum. He didn't kick me out. He just said that I can't be there anymore, that I pushed it to the limit. We leave the museum, we go out to dinner. We're eating, and we're talking. And I talked to Lorraine Warren, and she really liked me. She said that she wanted me to come back to her house, and with the priest and my friend. So she said that we had an aura, like a light, that my whole life, that there's like this energy that I have to see, like, experience things that other people might not experience, and that I have a good aura, like a really bright light. We all have auras. She told us certain people could feel and see different things happening in their lives. We talked, and the part of the museum, we go to the graveyard, the most haunted graveyard in the world, which is by her house. We did that. I remember telling her like all the stuff that happened to me. That's when she told me she wants me to come back. She gave me a book. She actually signed the book, and she said that told us to be careful. The priest said to be careful. He gave me his number and said if anything bad happens, give me a call, because he felt like something bad was gonna happen. So it gets crazy, guys. So we're leaving the place. We go home into the car. As we're driving, a white mist covers the car. You can't see anything through the car. I'm actually getting goosebumps talking about this. So a white mist covered the car, and we couldn't see anything. And as soon as we couldn't see anything, the priest calls, and he's like, is everything alright? I feel like something bad is going to happen. The mist disappears. And we told him what happened. We're like, yeah, the mist just covered the car. And he's like, I felt like something bad was going to happen. And he literally called as soon as the white mist appeared in the car. We end up going close to his house, my friend. And as soon as we were about to pull into his driveway, a black shadow jumped in front of the car to the direction of his house. And we didn't say anything. I looked at myself, I'm like, it has to be my head. And I looked at him, and he's like, did you just see what I saw? And I'm like, a shadow, right? And he's like, yeah, we saw a shadow jump in front of his house. What's crazy about that is, like, a few days later, he saw a black figure in his house walking around, like, as if it was, like, something that followed us from the house. And so that happened. We called the priest, and that's when we came back to his house, and he said that we conjured something, that we need to be careful and say prayer and everything. He gave us this thing from Italy that was, like, baptized by the Vatican. We have it, and I keep it with me. I don't have it with me now, but it's at my house. And so does my friend. It's Padre Pio. He's a very renowned priest in Italy. So we got that. We talked to him, and I told him all my story. And then I went to Lorraine Warren. I actually told her my story. And she's like, did anything ever happen to your mom? And this is when things get interesting. My mom doesn't like talking about this stuff. Every time I talk about what happened to me, she would scream at me, like, don't ever talk about it, because if you talk about it, bad things will happen. So I remember saying, Mom, did anything happen to you? Lorraine Warren says that you need to tell me if anything happened to you. And she was crazy, guys. This is when it gets real crazy. So she told me, she finally said, all right, I'm going to tell you what happened. One night, I never heard the story until I had to, like, force it out of her. One day, me and my brother were, like, really young, like babies. At 3 o'clock in the morning, exact, she will never forget the time. 3 o'clock, she heard someone in the kitchen. The same exact thing that happened to me at the door. Someone opening the door. She was so scared that she told me and my brother to come to her room. She called the cops. She knew like they were friends with her in the neighborhood. She called the cops. They came with dogs, flashlights, and everything. Looked over the house, found nothing. But it's so crazy to think that the same thing happened to her, but I never knew about it. It happened to me. So it's really interesting, guys. Long story short about that. Someone ended up dying in that apartment building on the second floor, a lady. She was found dead several days later after her death. So maybe it might have been her, who knows, but something was in that house, very demonic presence, and it followed us to the house that we lived in Stanford. And what happened there was very crazy, guys. So, my brother, it started affecting him a lot more than it affected me. He would hear voices at night. I would wake up to him screaming, saying, "Look, did you hear it? Did you hear it? Like someone speaking? You know, do you feel someone in the room?" I would always feel like there's a presence in that room watching us. I would be afraid to stay home alone. And it just really affected him, you know, mentally and physically. He would end up going to my mom's room, sleeping in her bedroom, because he was so afraid to be in that room with me. He was so terrified. Like I remember him waking up. He wouldn't be able to move, and he'd be like, "Can you help me?" Like he'd be screaming my name. I'd go near him, and he'd be like, I couldn't move, I couldn't breathe. And yeah, there is a scientific thing that you can like diagnose someone with, but that it stopped happening to him once he put a rosary over his bed, which is a cross with beads. He never stopped that. I did have it over my bed, a little quick fact. So it stopped happening to him. Till this day, you know, I played the Ouija board for after that, and all that weird stuff has happened with the Ouija board. That's gonna be for another video, but overall, that was my experience with a demonic presence that followed us from the house we lived in to the house we moved into, Stanford, which is really interesting. This stuff is real, guys. It can happen, and it's out there. So I'm not saying look for it, but I truly believe that there's bad and there's good. So this is like a big, huge wake-up call for me. Like growing up my whole life, I know that there's another life out there, because what happened to me in that house, no one could ever tell me that it's normal or it's happened. You know, it's not real. So I'll put all these pictures that I went to the Conjuring Museum, put it up here, show you guys the thing I put my arm over. And yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And if any of you have any stories of like this, like hauntings or whatever, anything that's ever happened to you as a kid, comment below. I'm interested to hear what happened to you, so we can talk about like so much more that I want to talk to you guys about what happened to me as a kid. But that's just the gist of everything, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.